The silence he carrieth sun had just begun to dip behind the distant hills when the director called out, "That's a wrap for today." Tired laughter and quiet applause rolled through the set like a gentle wave. People gathered their scripts, stretched their legs, and started talking about dinner plans. But Keanu Reeves didn't speak. He simply lowered his head, removed his jacket, and walked off toward the edge of the lot. No one noticed. No one asked, except Ana de Armas. She had watched him all day, not in a romantic way, not even as a curious co-star, but like someone who saw something strange in someone very familiar. Keanu had smiled for the camera, hit every cue, and shared small jokes during rehearsal. But behind all that, Ana saw his eyes weren't smiling. Not once Ana was used to actors having off days. She was used to pretending to, but this was different. Keanu wasn't acting sad. He was carrying something, and whatever it was heavy. She walked toward her trailer at first, just like everyone else. But after 5 steps, she stopped. She looked over her shoulder. Keanu was almost gone, just his back moving away, his steps slow and quiet like someone walking through memories. She turned fully and followed. The lot stretched into an empty space of gravel and trailers. Lights flickered overhead, and the hum of a nearby generator filled the silence. Keanu stopped near a small bench behind the wardrobe truck. He sat down with his elbows resting on his knees and stared at the gravel like it could give him answers. Ana hesitated before walking closer. "Hey," she said gently, not wanting to startle him. He didn't look up right away, but when he did, his expression didn't change. "Hey," he replied, his voice soft. "You left kinda fast," she said. "Just needed a minute," he said. She stood in front of him, unsure if she should sit beside him or stay standing. Finally, she lowered herself to the bench, a careful space between them. Silence hung there, not awkward, but not easy either. It felt like something needed to be said, but both were waiting for the other to speak first. "Are you okay?" she asked. Keanu gave a small nod. Then after a moment, he added, "I'm fine. Just ... some things I haven't figured out yet." Didn't push. She'd learned that real kindness wasn't always about fixing things. Sometimes it was just sitting next to someone when they didn't want to be alone. "Do you want to talk about it?" she asked. Not because she needed to know, but because he needed to hear someone ask. Keanu looked at her again. His eyes were tired, like they hadn't rested in weeks. He opened his mouth, then closed it. His hands rubbed together. "I lost someone a long time ago, and today reminded me." Ana stayed still. "It's strange," he continued. "You can be doing something totally different, filming, laughing, pretending to be someone else, and then suddenly a memory comes back, and you're not on set anymore. You're just back there again." Ana nodded slowly. "You mean?" He turned slightly surprised. "I lost my grandmother," she said quietly. "She raised me when my parents couldn't. And even now, years later, I'll smell a certain flower, or hear a song she liked, and I'm just a kid again, wishing I had said more before she left." Keanu didn't respond for a while, but his eyes softened. "Thank you for saying that." Ana looked at him. "You don't have to carry it alone, you know." He let out a small breath, almost like a sigh of relief. They sat there for a while, saying nothing more, watching the sky turn darker. The sounds of the crew slowly faded. Just 2 people on a bench far away from the cameras and the makeup and the scripts. It's just Keanu and Ana. No roles to play. Just 2 hearts remembering people they missed. Then, just as the night grew thicker, Ana turned to him and asked a question she'd been holding all day. Who was she? Keanu looked up at the stars. Long silence passed before he whispered, "Someone I promised I'd never forget." And he, Hadn, single quotes too. Ana didn't need to know more. Not yet. Maybe never. But something shifted in that moment. Not in a dramatic way, not like in the movies. It was something smaller, quieter, like a broken window letting in a breeze. And in that breeze, something long held inside, Keanu finally began to move. The weight behind his smiley next morning came without warning. Ana woke up to her alarm, the dull light of dawn slipping through her window blinds. The night before still lingered in her mind. She had dreamed of the bench, the quiet in Keanu's voice, the way his shoulders had looked when he said someone I promised I'd never forget. It wasn't just sadness, it was something deeper. It was love that had nowhere left to go. On set, everything looked normal. Makeup artists moved between trailers. Crew members laughed while checking equipment. Breakfast burritos were passed around, and someone was playing music too loud from a speaker on a folding chair. It was just another day on a film set. For Anna, something had changed. Or maybe it was someone. Keanu arrived like he always did. Quiet, polite, respectful. He greeted the crew with a soft smile, nodded at the camera operators, and thanked the assistant who handed him his water bottle. He didn't act different. Not really. Anna noticed how his eyes searched the lot until they found her. And when they did, he smiled just a little wider. During rehearsal, their scene involved laughter. The director wanted chemistry, something natural. Anna made a small joke before the take started. Nothing big, just a silly face she used to make as a kid. Keanu chuckled. Not forced, not polite, a real laugh. It was quiet, but it was warm. The camera caught it. The whole set felt lighter, perfect. The director shouted, "Cut, let's take 5. Anna walked over to the shade, sipping her iced tea. She didn't expect Keanu to follow her, but he did. "You always make that face?" he asked with a grin. "Only for the people I like," she replied. He smiled again. "Lucky me." They stood in silence for a moment. This time, the silence felt different. Not heavy, not uncertain, just calm. "Thank you for yesterday," he said. Anna looked at him. "You don't have to thank me." "I do," he said. "Right." Most people don't notice when something's wrong. They notice and pretend they didn't. "I couldn't," she said softly. It would have felt wrong. Keanu looked down at his shoes. "I haven't talked about her in a long time. Not to anyone who really listened." Anna tilted her head. "What was her name?" He hesitated, then spoke. "Jennifer." The name hung there between them. "We were together a long time ago," he said. "Before all this. Before everything changed." Anna nodded. She didn't ask for details, not yet. She knew grief wasn't a story you asked someone to rush through. But as the day went on, Anna noticed something else. Whenever Keanu smiled. Now, it didn't feel as empty. When the cameras rolled, he still gave the performance. But between takes, something had softened in him. Not healed, not completely, but cracked open, just enough for light to begin to enter again. By lunch, Anna sat with him at the far edge of the lot. No script in hand, no lines to practice. Just 2 actors with plates of food and a quiet understanding. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course." "How did you learn to carry it all this time?" He paused. "I didn't. I buried it. There's a difference." Anna looked at him, and now Keanu poked at his salad with a fork. "Now I'm wondering what it would feel like to stop running from it." She reached out and touched his hand lightly. Not to fix him, not to comfort him, just to let him know he wasn't alone. That afternoon they filmed a scene where their characters were supposed to argue. Intense emotions, raised voices, dramatic pauses. But the moment the cameras started rolling, something unexpected happened. Keanu's voice cracked, not loudly, just enough to make the director freeze and whisper, "Keep going." Anna leaned into it. Her voice softened instead of rising. Their argument turned into something more powerful. It felt like 2 people holding back pain instead of exploding with anger. When the scene ended, there was silence. No one called cut right away. The crew had gone completely still. Then, applause. The director approached with tears in her eyes. "I've never seen it done like that. You didn't act that scene, you lived it." Keanu didn't respond. He just looked at Anna. She nodded once. She knew that wasn't just a performance. That was Keanu letting a real piece of his heart bleed into the frame. After the day ended, as people packed up and headed for dinner or drinks, Keanu didn't leave right away. Anna found him at the same bench. He was looking up at the stars again. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded. "Yeah, better, I think." She sat beside him, the night breeze tugging gently at her hair. "You said you buried it," she said. Maybe what you're doing now? Maybe this is the beginning of remembering without hurting? Keanu turned to her. Maybe. He looked at her long enough that she could see it beneath all the fame. Beneath the stories and the rumors and the years of silence, there was still a man trying to forgive the past without forgetting it. Anna, he said after a long pause. Can I tell you the real story? She didn't say anything, just nodded and waited. And in the stillness of that warm night he began. The story he never told Night was warm, but Keanu's voice came out cold, at first steady, quiet, like footsteps in deep snow. Anna didn't interrupt. She leaned back against the bench, eyes on the sky, letting the sound of his voice become The only thing she heard, her name was Jennifer Syme, he said. She was kind, funny, sharp in all the ways I wasn't. She could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they belonged, especially me. His fingers curled slightly on his lap, like holding onto something invisible. We met during a strange season in my life. I was successful but lost, famous but lonely. I didn't know what I was missing until she laughed. Suddenly, the world felt warmer. He paused. Anna waited. She felt the weight in every space between his words. We were going to have a child, Keanu whispered. A little girl. Anna slowly turned toward him, her chest tightening. We named her Ava, he said. I remember the day we chose the name. We were sitting on the floor of our apartment with baby name books spread everywhere. She pointed at Ava and smiled, said it was simple, beautiful, like music without noise. His voice cracked there. Just a little. She never got to meet her, he said. Jennifer lost the baby 8 months in, stillborn. They told us there was nothing they could have done, just nature being cruel. Anna's eyes welled with tears. Oh, she didn't wipe them away. After that, Keanu said something inside her broke, and I tried. I tried to hold her together. But grief isn't something you fix. It lives inside you. It grows quiet when people are around, then screams when you're alone. He looked down at the ground. A year later, she was gone. He said softly, car accident. Early morning. They said she lost control. Anna whispered, I'm so sorry. Keanu nodded. So was I. The silence stretched again. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was sacred. People talk about grief like it's a wound that heals, he continued. But it's more like a room inside your heart. At first, you live in it. You wake up there. You cry there. You scream there. Over time, you visit it less, but it never disappears. It's always part of the house. Anna placed her hand gently on his. Do you ever think she's still with you? She asked Keanu. Looked up. The stars reflected in his eyes. I think she is, he said. Sometimes I hear music she loved, or I see a little girl with dark hair and laughing eyes. It feels like she's saying hi. Anna smiled softly. Then she is. They sat there long after the crew had gone. Just two people under the sky. Connected not by fame, not by film, but by the invisible thread of shared grief and silent understanding. The next day on set, things were different. Keanu arrived a little earlier. He helped a young assistant carry some cables without being asked. He complimented the costume team on their work. He smiled more, not bigger, but brighter, like something inside him had shifted. Anna noticed how he looked at her now, not with expectation, not with dependence, but with gratitude. He wasn't alone anymore. Not in the way he had been. During their scene that afternoon, their characters had to sit by a window, watching the rain, speaking about loss. Keanu didn't need the script. He looked at Anna and simply said, It's strange how something can be gone and still everywhere. Anna responded, unscripted. But maybe that's how we keep them close. The director let the cameras roll. Not a single person spoke. The air felt thick with emotion. Real emotion. After the scene, when cut was finally called, the crew didn't cheer. They stood in respectful silence, many of them blinking back tears. A young sound tech whispered, That wasn't acting. And he was right. That night, Anna received a message in her trailer. No name. Just a note written on a folded piece of paper. Thank you for seeing the silence in me. Not everyone can. Cachet held the note close for a long time, and then something happened that no one on set expected. Keanu invited the entire team to dinner. Not to a fancy place, not a red carpet event. Just a simple local diner with booth seats and pie that tasted like home. People came. They filled the place with laughter, shared stories, and took photos with ketchup-stained menus. And in the middle of it all, Keanu sat beside Anna, smiling not as a star, not as a man escaping his grief, but as someone finally learning to live. With it, and Anna, she knew she had made a difference. Not because she solved anything, but because she listened when no one else did. A heart that finally Spakito weeks passed. The film wrapped its main scenes and moved into the final leg of production. There were still a few close-ups to shoot, a few voiceovers to record, but most of the cast had begun to leave. People hugged goodbye, exchanged numbers they might never call, promised to meet again someday on another set. But Keanu stayed. So did Anna. Not because they had scenes left. Not because they were obligated. They stayed because something had shifted between them, something gentle, something real. The early mornings weren't lonely anymore. They'd meet before sunrise, walking the quiet backlots with coffee in hand. No cameras, no makeup, just two souls. Honor. Aid stories from her childhood in Cubahao. She used to act out plays in the backyard using laundry lines as curtains. How her grandmother taught her to cook rice with nothing but kindness and patience. Keanu listened with a kind of stillness that most people forgot how to give. And when he spoke, he opened more doors to the past. After Jennifer said one morning, "I didn't think love was for me anymore. I convinced myself that some people are meant to walk alone. I started to believe that silence was safer than connection." Anna looked at him with soft eyes. "But silence can't hold your hand." Keanu smiled. "No, it can't." She didn't ask what changed. She didn't need to. His presence had changed. His silences were no longer filled with pain. They were filled with peace. But peace, like all things, is tested. One day a journalist arrived on set. Unofficial. Uninvited. Someone had leaked a photo of Anna and Keanu sitting on that same bench under the stars. No script, no crew, no context. Just two people sharing a moment. The article went viral. Are Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas more than co-stars? Headlines exploded. Social media flooded with speculation. Fans argued. Blogs guessed. Cameras pointed. And Keanu froze. Not in anger. Not in fear. But in something deeper - worry. He knew what this kind of spotlight could do. He had seen it tear people apart. He remembered how the world had treated Jennifer. How even her grief was questioned. Her pain turned into a headline. That night, he didn't meet Anna for coffee. He didn't come to the lot. Disappeared. Anna knocked on his trailer. No answer, she called. No reply. The next morning, his trailer was empty. Anna felt her heart drop. Not because he had left, but because he had closed the door again. But she didn't give up. She called a driver and asked them to take her to the hills, where Keanu often went to ride his motorcycle in silence. She remembered him mentioning a small cabin he visited when things got too loud, and she found it. A little wooden home tucked between tall trees. Wind whispering through the leaves. She knocked once. No answer. Twice. Then the door opened. Keanu stood. Their tired eyes, hair uncombed, a mug of coffee in his hand. "You found me," he said, his voice almost a whisper. "Of course I did," she said. "You don't just disappear on people who care." He looked down. "I wasn't sure you'd still want to." Anna stepped inside. The cabin smelled like cedar and quiet memories. "You're scared," she said gently. "I am," he admitted. "I'm not good with this. Tension. I don't want to drag you into something ugly." Anna looked at him firmly. "You're not dragging me anywhere. I walk beside you by choice. Yes. Don't take that choice from me." He sat on the edge of the old couch. "I just don't want to lose the one good thing that's come back into my life." She sat beside him. "Then don't. Run from it. We'll face it together. You looked at her for a long time. I don't know how to be someone's together anymore. Then let's learn, she said, not as actors, not as people the world watches, but as us. The real us. Outside, the wind picked up, brushing against the windows. Keanu stood slowly and reached into a drawer, pulled out a photograph, faded edges, to people laughing on a beach. I haven't let anyone see this in years, he said, handing it to her. Anna looked at it. Jennifer was there, smiling wide, Keanu's arm around her, both of them sunburned, laughing without care. She'd be happy you're laughing again, Anna said softly. You think so? He asked. Anna nodded because she loved you. And love wants you to live. Keanu's voice broke as he whispered, I miss her every day. Anna placed her hand on his heart. Then let's make sure every day counts. They didn't kiss. They didn't hug. They just sat there as the rain began to fall outside the cabin, steady and soothing. Sometimes the strongest moments are the quietest. And that night, for the first time in years, Keanu didn't feel like he had to hide. When healing finds a mammoth rain didn't stop for hours. Inside the cabin, Keanu and Anna sat in silence. Not because they had nothing left to say, but because they had said the most important things already. There was no need to fill the air with more, just the warmth of presence was enough. Keanu lit a small fire in the stone hearth. Anna wrapped herself in a soft old blanket she found draped over the couch. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees like voices from another time. It was peaceful, almost sacred. This place feels like memory, Anna said quietly. Keanu looked at the fire. It is. Every piece of it. I built it after Jennifer passed. Needed somewhere the world couldn't follow me. Anna looked around. Wooden shelves, filled with books, faded photos framed with care, mugs that didn't match, a scarf hanging on a nail. Everything felt worn and lived in, and yet it didn't feel lonely anymore. It's beautiful, she said. He smiled. You're the first person I've brought here. Anna met his gaze, and I'm honored. Keanu looked at her with a strange kind of wonder. Do you know what's strange? What? I thought I'd always feel like grief was the final chapter. Like everything after Jennifer was just waiting. Surviving. But now it feels like maybe there's another chapter I haven't read yet. Anna leaned in. Then let's write it. Slowly, kindly. He looked at her for a long time, and then, as if something inside him finally let go, he whispered, Thank you for not walking away. You don't scare me, she replied. Keanu laughed. A soft sound. It's honest. I used to think the world only wanted me when I was silent, when I was stoic, when I gave them what they expected. Anna nodded. But I never asked you for any. Of that I know, he said. That's what makes it different. They spent the night in the cabin, not in each other's arms, not in some dramatic embrace, just together. Two people learning how to share quiet and warmth without needing to fill the space with anything more. In the morning, the rain had stopped. Mist hung over the trees like breath held too long. Keanu made coffee. Anna cooked scrambled eggs in a small pan that wobbled when touched. They laughed when the toast burned slightly, and even harder when the smoke alarm chirped once, then died. Completely. This, Anna said, sitting with her legs folded beneath her, feels real. It is, Keanu replied. They packed slowly. Not because they needed to, but because neither of them wanted to go just yet. On the ride back to the city, the car was quiet, but not heavy. Keanu drove. Anna looked out the window, her fingers tracing the fogged glass. When they reached the studio gates, everything came rushing back. Flashing cameras, reporters, assistants, waving schedules. It all felt louder than it had before, but Keanu didn't flinch. He reached for Anna's hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. We don't owe them our story, he said. Maybe we owe it to ourselves not to hide anymore. Anna looked at him. We don't have to explain anything. Just live it. They stepped out of the car together. The cameras clicked wildly. Questions were shouted. Are you two dating? Keanu, is this serious? Nah. Are you in love? But they didn't stop. Keanu opened the studio door for her. She smiled and walked through. He followed. Inside, the noise faded. The lights softened. The The people they cared about greeted them with quiet smiles and warm eyes. The director met them, both with open arms. "You two gave us more than a film," she said. "You gave us truth." Keanu bowed his head, grateful but humble. Anna took his hand in front of everyone, not as a show, not as a statement, just as a promise. They filmed the final scene that day. No rehearsals, just one take, their characters. Sat on a bench, surrounded by quiet wind and falling petals. Keanu looked at Anna. "Do you think we can begin again?" he asked in character. Anna looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I think we already have." The director didn't yell cut. The entire crew just stood there, still. And in that moment, fiction and truth touched hands. After the shoot, Keanu and Anna walked out together. No more hiding, no more fear. Just two people with a story between them. Not a fairy tale, but something better. Something real. That evening, Keanu invited her to the beach, just like he had gone with Jennifer once, long ago. But this time, it was different. They sat in the sand, barefoot, watching the waves roll in. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded letter. "I wrote this years ago," he said. "Never gave it to anyone." Anna took it carefully, opened it slowly. The letter was short. "To the one who teaches me to feel a goonie, don't know who you are yet, but thank you for coming. Thank you for not letting my silence scare you away. I hope when we meet, I'll still be capable of love." Anna folded the letter and handed it back. "You are," she said softly. "You've always been," and Keanu smiled. Truly smiled, not with lips, with eyes, with soul. The path we build together, man's past. The film was released in quiet anticipation, then exploded into something no one had predicted. Not because of its budget, not because of its effects, but because people felt it. Audiences sat in silence. Through the final scene, Keanu and Anna on the bench, just breathing, just being. Tears rolled down faces, not because it was sad, but because it was honest. It reminded people of something they had forgotten: how simple it is to care. It's how rare it is to feel truly seen. Critics called it the performance of a lifetime, but Keanu didn't care about the reviews. He cared about the quiet morning. Walks he took with Anna through the park before anyone else woke up. He cared about the way she made tea and sang old songs under her breath in the kitchen. He cared about how she listened when he talked about motorcycles. Even though she couldn't tell a brake lever from a gear shift, he cared about the ordinary, and so did she. For a while, they stayed quiet about what they were. They didn't need to name it. They just lived it. Shared dinners, shared silences, shared healing. But the world kept watching. One evening, after a charity event, a reporter asked them again, "Are you together?" Keanu looked at Anna. Anna looked back, and this time he smiled. "We're building something," he said. And it's the most honest thing I've ever known. That quote spread like wildfire. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was rare. People didn't see that kind of honesty often, especially from someone like Keanu Reeves, who had lived so long behind gentle eyes and quiet mystery. But now, he was living out loud. He began showing up to interviews with a new kind of presence. Not louder, just more whole. He spoke about grief, about healing, about how sometimes the strongest thing you can do is allow someone to see you when you're still hurting. Anna found a new light in herself. She gave speeches at film festivals, not about fame, but about kindness, about what it means to hold space for someone, about how the smallest moments, one quiet bench, one gentle question can change everything. They never posted selfies, never. Made announcements they didn't need to. Their love wasn't for display, it was for living. One afternoon, months later, they returned to the same diner where they'd once shared that first cast dinner with the crew, same booths, same ketchup-stained menus this time. It was just the two of them. Anna ordered the same sandwich. Keanu got pie. Do you ever think Anna asked that all of this happened because of one moment? Keanu thought for a second. Which one? The moment you walked away from set, and I followed. He nodded slowly. I think maybe everything real in life begins that way. Someone stepping forward, someone following, and then. She asked, and then he said, Reaching across the table for her hand, they walked together. The server brought their food, ate slowly, laughing between bites, talking about everything and nothing. After lunch, they walked to the nearby lake. The breeze danced through the trees. Children played near the water. An old man fed birds from a bench. Keanu and Anna sat down beside him. They didn't say anything at first, just breathed in the moment. Anna leaned her head on Keanu's shoulder. "No," he said quietly. "For a long time, I didn't think I'd get another chapter. But you did," she said. "And this one's not the last." He smiled. "No, not even close." They sat until the sun dipped low, and as the golden light kissed the lake's surface and the birds soared above them, Keanu thought about Jennifer, about Ava, about all the grief he had carried like bricks in his chest. He thought about silence, about loneliness, about how he used to think love was something that only came once and never again. And then he looked at Anna and realized something: love doesn't end. It transforms. It teaches. It waits. And when it returns, it doesn't knock loudly. It just sits beside you on a bench one day and asks a simple question. Are you okay? And if you're lucky, you say yes. Not because everything is perfect, but because someone stayed long enough for you to feel safe saying it.